I'm going to read a little bit from the middle of the book, which I know is frowned upon because then people give that long, horrible introduction. But I think all I have to say is that the narrator is married and has a child, and she has a kind of a hack writing job at the time, writing a memoir for a man who tried to be an astronaut and didn't make it. And he's writing a very bad book that she's helping him with, and she calls him the almost astronaut. There are always other mothers at the school. Some of them arrive early, and because of this, it is the same ones who notice every day if I am late. These are the same mothers, the early ones, who are also good at remembering what to bring on a given day. You might have to bring a picture of your child and her father, or suntan lotion, or an empty egg carton, which will be transformed into something. Because there are mothers like me, who are sometimes late to school, the teachers have built a grace period into each day. There is choice time at the beginning of the morning, and if this is missed by your child, it is bad, of course, but not terrible. It is not like missing circle time, where they talk about how a flower grows and what it needs, water, sun, or how we humans too are animals, or how the planets are particularly arranged nearest to and farthest from the sun. All of the children know that Pluto has been demoted, and they shriek with glee if their older, slower parents forget this. There's also a grace period when it comes to the bringing in of things. The day the egg carton is due is not the real day, but the day before it is really, really necessary, before it is really, really a catastrophe not to have it. And then, even then, some teachers make provisions for the mothers who forget. They may bring extra cartons or receive extras from some of the other mothers, the rememberers, the ones who are always early. There is a story about a prisoner at Alcatraz who spent his nights in solitary confinement, dropping a button on the floor, then trying to find it again in the dark. Each night, in this manner, he passed the hours until dawn. I do not have a button. In all other respects, my nights are the same. Personality questionnaire. 1. I enjoy the sensation of speeding in a car. 2. Others know me by the long hours I keep. 3. I am drawn to games of chance. 4. Parties make me nervous. 5. I eat more quickly than other people. 6. Friends have called me thin-skinned. 7. I prefer indoor activities. 8. Often I fear I am not up to life's challenges. 9. I would like to learn to fly an airplane. 10. Sometimes I am restless for no apparent reason. There is still such crookedness in my heart. I had thought loving two people so much would straighten it. What the yoga people say. None of this is banal, if only you would attend to it. All right then, this thing clogging the sink. I reach my hand into the murky water, fiddle with the drain. When I pull it back out, my hand is scummed with grease. My husband clears the table. Bits of meat cling to the plates. A soggy napkin floats in gravy. In India, they say, there are men who eat only air. Someone has given my daughter a doctor's kit. Carefully, she takes her own temperature, places the pressure cuff around her arm. Then she takes the cuff off and examines it. Would you like to be a doctor when you grow up? I ask her. She looks at me oddly. I'm already a doctor, she says. I would give it up for her. Everything. The hours alone, the radiant book, the postage stamp in my likeness. But only if she would consent to lie quietly with me until she is 18. If she would lie quietly with me, if I could bury my face in her hair, yes, then yes, uncle. Student evaluations. She's a good teacher, but very anecdotal. No one would call her organized. She seems to care about her students. She acts as if writing has no rules. Where is the funny, my husband says, clicking the remote. Bring me the funny. What Keats said. No such thing as the world becoming an easy place to save your soul in. Our beautiful Italian babysitter tells me she broke up with her boyfriend. I know him, a serious young musician who adores her. What did he do? I say. She makes herself a cup of tea. He cried like a clown. When my daughter comes home, her fingers are indelibly red and black. Look at your hands, what happened to them? My husband says. She looks at her hands. I guess it is my responsibility, she tells him. Were the parties always so dull? I ask my husband, as we stand at the bank machine, getting money for the babysitter. He puts the bills into his wallet. That was a $200 party, he tells me. The Buddhists say that wisdom may be obtained by reaching the 3 marks. The first is an understanding of the absence of self. The second is an understanding of the impermanence of all things. The third is an understanding of the unsatisfactory nature of ordinary experience. Everything that has eyes will cease to see, says the man on the television. He looks credentialed. His hair has a dark gleam to it. His voice is like the voices of those people who hand out flyers on the subway, but he's not talking about God or the government. When is everyone coming, my daughter says. Isn't everyone coming? She drags her dollhouse out of her room and begins arranging and rearranging the chairs inside it. It is hard to make it as they should be, it seems. One is always askew. She is so solemn, my little girl, so solemn and precise. Carefully, she places the tiny turkey in the center of the tiny table. It is golden brown. Someone has carved a perfect flap in it. Why, I wonder? Why must everything have already begun? Hurry, she murmurs as she works. Hurry, hurry. The credentialed man is talking about the heavens now, about their most ruinous movements. The time lapse shows a field of plants perishing, a mother and child blown away by a wave of red light. Something distant and imperfectly understood is to blame for this, but the odds against it are encouraging, astronomical even. Still, I won't be happy until I know the name of this thing. Chapter 12. Advice for Wives, circa 1896. The indiscriminate reading of novels is one of the most injurious habits to which a married woman can be subject. Besides the false views of human nature it will impart, it produces an indifference to the performance of domestic duties and contempt for ordinary realities. It's true that I'm feeble-minded at the grocery store. I write lists that I forget, buy things we don't need or already have. Later, my husband will say, did you get toilet paper? Did you get ketchup? Did you get garlic? And I will say, no, I forgot, but here's some butterscotch pudding and some toothpicks and some whiskey sour mix. But for now, my daughter and I stand shivering in front of the meat case. I'm cold, she says. Why can't we go? Why do we have to stand here? There is some kind of meat I am supposed to buy. Kind of meat to go in a meat recipe. We can go soon, I say. Just wait, let me think for a minute. You're not letting me think. So lately, I've been having this recurring dream. In it, my husband breaks up with me at a party saying, I'll tell you later, don't pester me. But when I tell him this, he grows peevish. We're married, remember? Nobody's breaking up with anybody. I love autumn, she says. Look at the beautiful autumn leaves. It feels like autumn today. Is autumn your favorite time of year? She stops walking and tugs at my sleeve. Mommy, you are not noticing. I'm using a new word. I say autumn now instead of fall. 13. I had this idea in the middle of the night that maybe I could stop working for the Almost Astronaut and get a job writing fortune cookies instead. I could try to write really American ones. Already, I've jotted down a few of them. Objects create happiness. The animals are pleased to be of use. Your cities will shine forever. Death will not touch you. I send my fortunes to my friend, the philosopher. He writes back immediately. I'm interested in bankrolling you, but I only have $27 in checking. The next morning, a man comes to look at the apartment. He brings his dog with him. Seek, he tells the dog, seek, seek. But the dog just sits there, staring at him. A week later, I call the man back to look for the bugs again. I give him tea and cookies. Here's what you do, he says. Put poison on your mattress, then on the windowsills, then in the electrical sockets, then just go to sleep in your bed. But the kid upstairs knows all about it already. Can I give you a little piece of advice, he says. Throw out everything you own. I read an article written by a woman living alone who got them. She talks about how depressing it is to have no one to help her with all the spraying and washing and cooking and bagging. She spent all her money, hasn't had a date in years. I show it to my husband. It's true. We're lucky, he says. A few weeks later, they send a note home from her school about lice. Mothers drive across town to the Orthodox neighborhood to see the nitpicker for $100 a head. That's what she charges them. She is very thorough, the mothers claim, worth every penny. But my husband is thorough too. He goes through her hair, then holds the comb up carefully to the light. Do you know why I love you? My daughter asks me. She is floating in the bathwater, her head lathered white. Why? I say. Because I am your mother, she tells me. There is a video I have seen, which I cannot unsee, that shows them avoiding the poison by climbing the far wall, crossing the ceiling, and then dropping onto the bed. And another one, even worse, in which a woman films herself waiting up all night beside her daughter's bed with a lint roller. What Simone Weil said, attention without object is a supreme form of prayer. The almost astronaut calls me at all hours now to talk about his project. I think it's going to be a bestseller, he tells me. Like that guy, what's his name, Sagan? Carl? No, he says, that's not it. Something else. It'll come to me. A few nights later, I secretly hope that I might be a genius. Why else can no amount of sleeping pills fell my brain? But in the morning, my daughter asks me what a cloud is, and I cannot say. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It is, I'm just trying to get the mic. It's okay? Yeah, okay. That was wonderful. It is such a pleasure being here at Center for Fiction. Thank you to Noreen and to Cal Morgan and everyone at Center for Fiction, and to Jenny Offill, I'm so thrilled to be here with her and to hear her read from her radiant book, which is such a feat of form and feeling. I'm going to read from Green Girl. What you need to know is that the novel is about a shop girl named Ruth who works in a department store in London she merely calls Horrids, based on no department store in particular. There's a narrator watching her, kind of writing her throughout, and there's this love she remembers back home like a wound. There are epigraphs that frame some of the sections, and this one is from Clarice Lispector's The Hour of the Star. What I am writing is something more than mere invention. It is my duty to relate everything about this girl among thousands of others like her. It is my duty, however unrewarding, to confront her with her own existence. Dreaded Saturday crowds, the grandiose doors spit shoppers in, spit shoppers out. They are indistinct, they come in waves, an exodus of the masses. Walking down the row, women poised like flyers, handing out scented sticks of paper. Desire, care to try? Desire, desire. Plastered smile, pink ornament, a pastel scent at attention. Ruth does not even register the constant throb of gloves and shoes and clipping walks. She feels the pastel globe weigh on her hand. It is covered in silver netting, which pierces her palm. She has to display this bottle of perfume at chest height for an indeterminate period of time, like those Vanna Whites displaying prizes on game shows. A spokesmodel who has only one line to speak, until the powers that be allow her to take a break, where she will escape to the employee toilet and lock herself in a stall of porcelain white, feeling the silence of her own breath. To last throughout her shift, she escapes outside of her body and lets it do all the work. She asks woman after woman, all strutting by like robins in their winter wear, if they would like to sample desire. Desire, desire. She is on repeat. The silver is starting to wear off, sparkly silver on her hands, the glitter buried deep in her palm. Angry women swinging their angry purses, holding the hands of British children, freakishly precocious like tiny adults. Sometimes she is struck by the sense that she is someone else's character, that she is saying someone else's lines. At the end of her day, her throat is dry from her constant spiel. Her feet and her calves ache from standing. Her cheeks ache from pretend smiling. The very top of her second finger on her right hand, the uppermost joint, aches from pressing up and down, up and down. Point, squirt, hand. Point, squirt, hand. My Ruth, I write on her board. The piped-in sounds of pop music, manufactured, packaged, digestible. A song by the starlet whose perfume she's shilling, cooing sultry come-ons, breathless promises, on a track repeating over and over again. The landscape of shoppers' ringtones, music that's not music, the buzzing and the coo. Ruth has swallowed all of these noises. She doesn't even notice them anymore. The horrible head sometimes walks by and snaps his thick sausages in her face. Look alive. He doesn't even say her name. She is nameless. She is an unknown. He had begun to walk by her station just to see whether she was awake, to the delight of the terrible girls. You should be offering desire to everyone who walks through that door. He points at the door and then points at the globe carelessly cupped in her hand. The world that exists inside her sweaty, numbing palm. You're a sales girl. You're supposed to be selling. Are we clear? Ruth smiles blankly in a fog. Not there, not really there. Watch her, he points at Nancy, who throws up her hands at him. Ruth imagines her pulling him aside. Those temps, they're not too bright, you see. They're only temporary. Poor Ruth, parroting away like an automaton. Ruth feels tremulous, handing out the sticks of scented paper, uncertain, passive. Desire, would you care to? Desire. She's now supposed to squeak out, have you ever experienced desire? The horrible head recently came up with this. But she only does it when he's around watching her. Have you ever experienced desire? During dead stretches of time, she fantasizes about the past, the forbidden. I can see us fighting like wet cats, clawing at each other, on the street unable to help ourselves, in front of your car, you unable to drive away, in bed at the latest hour, the birds beginning their appeal, knowing the next day to be already ruined. We would suck on each other's mouths as if to drag the life from each other. The green girl necessarily pines for the past, because the present is too uncomfortable to be present in, and the future unimaginable. The need to long, to desire that which she cannot have, that which has eluded her, because she deceives herself that it was this person, this chance, where she would have found happiness. It would have been this boy, this ordinary boy with his ordinary cruelty, who would have unlocked the key to herself, a self mysterious even to her. The one, and there is only ever one, so if you missed out, sad for you. I can see you, red-chapped elbows propped up against my pillow, cigarette between lips like a bemused farmhand with his blade of grass. Have you ever experienced desire? She felt ridiculous saying this, like she should be selling herself on late night TV. She sits in her usual spot by the window at Foyle's Cafe. It is still raining outside on soggy red brick. Ruth sits on a stool at the window and watches from up above, dipping her chin into the phone. Umbrellas proceed almost solemnly down the street, rims touching each other almost tenderly, like school children proceeding hand in hand. With the tip of her thumbnail, she scratches at the tiny wart hidden under the nail on her second finger. She flicks it meditatively, her fingernails dirty underneath. She has cuts all over her knuckles. Flick, flick. She thinks about him. How could I have washed off so easily, she wonders. You leave and leave. In the morning, you begin the disentangling. In the morning, you go. In the morning, you are gone. She is impressionable, yet she does not leave an impression. She is like a ghost, a non-thing. Ruth doesn't know this, but a man in the cafe is watching her too. He has a sketchbook in front of him. He is drawing her outline. He is sketching her dramatic silhouette. A young girl pensive watching out the window. She is an unknown. He has discovered her, a beautiful sight. She is a beautiful figure, the slip of a girl. He wouldn't mind poking her a bit with his pencil. The rain has let up momentarily. She gazes at the top level of a double-decker bus stopped outside. The passengers seem unaware that they are being looked at, secure in being so high up from everything. They are in fact naked there, relaxing their tense city selves except for the small dramas of transport, the bumping and pushing and excuse me's, no pardon me's, the looking without looking. She catches a boy regarding himself in his reflection, shaking out a light caramel shag, a mustard scarf, a leather jacket the color of toffee, a bled-out brown. She meets his eyes boldly, safe within her bubble. I see you. I see you. Suddenly Ruth spies a silver-haired shop girl from Liberty, which is another department store. She seems to be waiting for someone, her long yet uncertain body against the wall, posing daintily with her paper coffee cup, looking out into the crowds of people with a practiced look that is both cool and yearning. How many sets of eyes warm her? She looks off into the distance. From time to time she looks down at her mobile phone pocketed in her hand. She must be aware of her to-be-looked-at-ness. She is ravishing. She is untouchable. She hangs there like a dress one cannot afford. She is such a pretty girl. Such a pretty girl. Everyone showers compliments on the pretty girl. She really has a delightful, dreamy quality to her. That wonderful pouty mouth. She has all of her original underclothes. What marvelous coloring. No hairline chips or cracks. I was watching a lot of Antique Roadshow when I was writing. It made its way into a couple books, actually, a lot of Antique Roadshow. Pushing her way back down the stairs of the tube station, past bodies and briefcases and elbows and legs. Mind your head, crowds and crowds. She stumbles around outside of herself, looking at them, looking at her. The train comes shuttling through. An advert on the train, feeling knackered. Although Ruth does not know what it means to feel knackered, she has a feeling that this is precisely what she is feeling. The holidays were starting to get to her. The city was starting to get to her. She ached an indeterminate ache. Her glands were swollen in her throat, under her armpits. She had already called in once that week at work, breathing fragile and penitent at the same time to human resources. If human resources were supposed to be so human, why do they make you feel so alienated? Yes, I don't feel well. I need to take a personal day. Yes, my throat and my head, and I'm a bit fatigued, you see. She wanted to hibernate, to surrender to the slowness of sick. She craves her own stand-in posted politely on her glass window. The part of Ruth for the next few days will be played by fill in the blank. That's what she needs. She needs her blank to be filled in. It all began to blur into the same train ride home, doors closing, mind the gap between who she was and who everyone thought her to be, the gap between the past and now, between her fiction and her reality. the same shifted horrids, the same bodies, 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 bodies. Red bodies, yellow bodies, white bodies, brown bodies, black bodies, purple bodies, green bodies, young bodies, old bodies, teenage bodies, middle-aged bodies, girl bodies, boy bodies, androgynous bodies, ambidextrous bodies, muscular bodies, skinny bodies, fat bodies, straight bodies, gay bodies, bi bodies, clean bodies, foul bodies, bodies that smell of smoke, bodies that smell of soap, bodies from the train, bodies from the street, bodies carrying other bodies, bodies in wheelchairs, bodies with strollers, bodies missing appendages, bodies in a hurry, bodies that go slow, bodies that whiz by, bodies that slink past, bodies that talk, bodies that are mute, bodies that don't exist, bodies with shopping bags, bodies with large leather purses, damp bodies, dry bodies, bodies with the coldest of hands, bodies with the softest of skin, bodies with bored bodies, bodies with scarred faces, bodies with no faces, bodies chewing bubble gum, bodies eating crisps, bodies on phones, bodies with umbrellas, bodies with other bodies, art bodies, business bodies, celebrity bodies, no bodies, mommy bodies, daddy bodies, brother bodies, sister bodies, bodies with bellies, bodies with breasts, hunched over bodies, rich bodies, poor bodies, bodies who have never worked a day in their life, nice bodies, mean bodies, strange bodies, familiar bodies, British bodies, American bodies, bodies who say cheers, bodies who say thanks, bodies who ignore you, bodies who say bonjour, bodies of all nations, bodies wearing turbans, bodies whose skirts touch the floor, bodies all bundled up, bodies too naked, bodies with beards, bodies with long hair, bodies that tap by on heels, bodies that shuffle by, bodies, bodies, bodies. To all of these she proffers her desire. Thank you.